What is a childhood meal you loved as a kid, but find disgusting as an adult? Kid cuisine. Soggy fries and spongy nugs. Classic, but also kind of gross. The pudding that sometimes spilled over into the mac and cheese. When I was home alone in the summer, I would microwave a piece of white bread with a Kraft single on top. Not about that life anymore. When I was young, I mixed a whole jar of peanut butter and a bag of chocolate chips. I was incredibly sick afterwards, but that didn't stop me from doing it again and again. Ramen made by my mom. I love ramen, but the way my mom makes it is, overcook the noodles, drain all the water, add a ton of butter. Then it's just a greasy, soggy mess. My grandmother used to make me peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwiches. I honestly don't know if they are disgusting now. I can't imagine actually eating one. Loved these as a kid. Had a babysitter quit because she was too disgusted making them for me. 20 years later, I understand where she was coming from. I used to eat Cheese Whiz sandwiches for lunch all the time as a young kid, since we could afford it. After years of it, I came to hate it, and how I can't stand it. Butter. As a child, I would take huge bites out of the butter stick. The thought of it horrifies me now, but as a kid I loved it. My coworker recently showed me shame sticks. Butter rolled in brown sugar. He brought it in for everyone to try. He was the only person who enjoyed it. I lived for pizza Lunchables, but now the idea of eating cold shredded cheese and rubbery pepperoni on a sad little biscuit sounds awful. Salad sandwiches, peanut butter, lettuce and Miracle Whip on white bread. My brothers and I ate them like crazy as kids. Just the thought is pretty revolting now. Not a meal, but frosting. As a kid, I'd try to get the cake piece or cupcake with the most frosting and lick it all off. Yum. Now as an adult, when I get those cupcakes with this big swirl of frosting on it like soft serve ice cream, I can't stand them. I scrape about 90% of that stuff off. And frosting flowers? No. Used to love them. Kid cuisine. Had it once a week for most of my childhood, and now I get sick just thinking of those chicken nuggets. My favorite meal was something my mom called tuna fish casserole. As an adult, I discovered it was a can of tuna mixed with cream of mushroom soup with potato chips on top. Go-gurt. I love the bright blue colored ones. They weren't even fruit flavored, and were called something like Paradise Punch. It was just a thick sugar, flavor, and milk mix. Bologna and ketchup sandwiches. White bread. Room temperature. Met a guy last year who eats straight up ketchup sandwiches. Hope he rots in hell. What we used to do was take bread, layer on margarine, then sprinkle a coating of sugar on top. Sweet, but holy hell, I cringe to think I used to demand it every day. Not food, but Mondo drinks. I remember chugging those things down 2 at a time. I found some in a grocery store last year and bought it for nostalgia's sake. Immediately felt like I was going to get diabetes. I don't know if they changed the ingredients over the years or my tastes are just different, but it was absolutely terrible. Hot dogs. I used to eat them cold out of the fridge. I used to eat spaghetti with Italian dressing on it. Maybe it actually is still good, but for some reason it now seems nasty. When I was younger, I used to love protein bars. No idea why. Had one yesterday and it tasted like a sand brick. Frozen pot pies. I'm talking about the cheap ones in the little tin bowls, not the fancy ones in the green box. When my dad went out of town, my mom would let us pick our own dinner for the night, and that's what we would get every time. We were spoiled ass kids whose mom made amazing home-cooked meals every night, so the thought of the worst food we could find was so exciting to us. Either that or it was the rush we would get from the sodium blasting through our systems. We would even have competitors to see who had the most fake chicken chunks versus veggies. I used to sprinkle whole spoonfuls, 1 to 3, of white sugar on my Cheerios or Corn Flakes. At the end, I would drink cereal milk sugar sludge. And I loved it. 30 years later and I want to puke just thinking about it. As a child, I used to make what I deemed super sandwiches. I would make sandwiches with peanut butter, jelly, mayo, ketchup, mustard, ham, pickles, cheese, chocolate sauce, literally whatever I could find in the fridge. I was too young to really remember it, but I guess I would pound those sandwiches every day. At least I wasn't a picky eater. Not a meal per se, but Sunny D. It's so sweet I feel like I'm going to die. Starburst candy. Not so much the taste, I can still enjoy them today. As a child, I would unwrap each Starburst individually. Then, I would put all 12 in my hand and squeeze them together. Once I created my Starburst ball, I would eat it like an apple.